How does a show that died in 4 episodes become the secret parent of your favorite comedies? The answer starts with a detective who never smirks, a world that never stops joking, and a network note that aged like spoiled milk. In this video, we'll walk through 7 tight chapters: the rigid world it lampooned, the accidental perfect lead, and a joke density that punished distracted viewers.
As Mr. Palazzo will now sing our national anthem.
By the end, you'll understand why no laugh track wasn't a risk. It was the key. Curious how chaos disguised as structure became the rulebook.
Police Squad in color.
Number 1, the straight-laced world of 70s cop shows. So what happens when you spoof a genre that takes itself so seriously it forgets it's a performance? You get a perfect target. Late 70s and early 80s cop shows ran on rails. Gravel-voiced narration setting the stakes, a hard moral line, and a case of the week that wrapped before the credits. You got clean beats, crime, pursuit, confession, no gray, no wink. Those rhythms trained you to relax. The show told you what to think and when to feel it. Then, and here's the twist, what if a comedy walked into that exact structure and refused to let you coast? It kept the cadence, kept the tone, but changed the payload. Like a metronome you don't notice until someone syncopates against it. Think of the era's common grammar. Freeze frame end credits that freeze at the laugh. Exposition-heavy dialogue where every clue is spelled out, twice. Earnest voiceovers that restate the obvious for viewers who just sat down. Police Squad would later take those same tools and twist them. Freeze frames that keep moving, speeches that solve the wrong problem, narration that's helpful until it isn't. The stakes sit right there. Parody only hits if the bass note stays rigid. The straighter the world, the sharper the joke. If the setting wobbles, the gag turns mushy. If the setting locks in, a tiny nudge plays huge. Build the world as straight as a ruler and you can bend it into a pretzel without breaking logic. That's the trick. The audacity isn't noisy or mean. It's calibrated against a TV language everyone knows by heart. You think you're safe on autopilot. Then the rhythm steps sideways and makes you listen again. Number 2, the right man for the wrong job. How does a dramatic leading man become the funniest person in a room by refusing to tell a joke? Start with credibility. Leslie Nielsen walked in with the calm authority of a veteran. Stoic voice, steady gaze, zero fuss. That prior image snaps into place the second he pivots. He doesn't change his posture, the world around him changes. That gap is the laugh. Comedy usually rewards a wink and nod. Nielsen offers no wink. Ever. He reads lines like a sworn statement, as if the punchline were a court exhibit. That refusal to signal makes you do the work, and the payoff lands harder because you weren't cued. It's like hearing a lullaby in a marching band tempo. Same notes, new jolt. Watch how his dramatic cadence flips the tools. Wordplay becomes evidence he processes with clinical calm. Sight gags sit in frame while he continues the interview. Non sequiturs are treated as leads, not jokes. When he says, "Nothing to see here,"
Nothing to see here. Please disperse.
while chaos cooks behind him, the contradiction isn't mugged for effect. It's logged like a field report. Your brain resolves the clash and laughs at the precision. Critics singled out that deadpan. The Zaz team leaned into it after stripping away any showboating, finding a timing that lives in negative space. No grin, no nudge, just a locked jaw and a perfect beat. Stack that against typical sitcom mugging. Reaction shots, elongated pauses, musical bumps. Nielsen rejects all of it. Restraint becomes the engine. Quick pause before we dive into the next hidden meaning. If you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. We've got even deeper Police Squad theories. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's next. Number 3, the genius of deadpan. What if the funniest line is delivered like a court affidavit? That's the core of casting the right man for the wrong job. Deadpan isn't a quirk here, it's the design. Everyone behaves like they're filing reports on Hill Street Blues while the floor tilts and the ceiling leaks gags. The tone never bends, so the joke doesn't have to be announced. You expect cues: a smile, a hang time pause, a sting telling you where to laugh. Police Squad strips all of it. The silence becomes policy. When the scene refuses to wink, your brain starts scanning for the angle, and that tension keeps you alert. Here's the machinery. Flat delivery keeps meaning clean. Clipped rhythm drops lines like verdicts. Zero acknowledgement of absurdity prevents release. That combo speeds up how you process jokes because you aren't waiting for permission. You're parsing evidence. The lead treats a pun like a fingerprint, a falling body like a scheduling issue, and that legal seriousness becomes the punch. Watch the visual contract at work. The announcer names one episode while the on-screen title insists on another. Guest stars arrive in the credits and are promptly murdered. No one reacts. The lead doesn't glance, doesn't wince, doesn't breathe wrong. That mismatch makes cognitive whiplash, and you bridge the gap in real time. Without performative signposting, the humor turns participatory. You connect the dots, not a laugh track. The show quietly moves you from passenger to co-pilot, and the cockpit is all straight faces. Number 4, a world saturated with jokes. How dense can the joke per second get before a network panics? Start with the build. Layers everywhere. Foreground quips that hit clean. Background signage that undercuts the scene. Meta credits that argue with themselves. And the recurring side bits. Johnny the Shoeshine turning tips into omniscient intel, stitching episodes together like case files. This format makes you watch like a detective. Eyes scan corners. Ears chase the line that sounded too neat. No autopilot. You don't wait for the punch. You track evidence. The show hands you a crowded frame and dares you to triage it in real time. Then the cascade. A sight gag sits in the corner, say a sign that contradicts the cop's confidence, while the dialogue drops a tight pun you almost miss. 3 scenes later, a pattern pays off when the setup pops back as if it was hiding in plain sight. Each layer clicks a different part of your brain, so every pass reveals something new. The silence matters. Without a laugh track, there's no padding between beats, no canned cue nudging you to react. The rhythm stays rapid fire and you decide where the laugh sits. That agency turns timing into a game you play with the show. Number 5, the note that aged like milk. Could a single note redefine what counts as too smart on TV? With this show, ABC said viewers needed help knowing when to laugh. That line wasn't about taste, it was about control. In a world saturated with jokes, foreground quips, background tags, meta credits, your attention, not a laugh track, set the beat. The network saw effort and called it a flaw. Here's the rub. The format asked you to watch like a detective, spotting patterns without hand-holding. A canned cue would slow the rhythm, flatten the layers, and turn discovery into instruction. That clashed with the show's core. Rapid setup, clean payoff, no training wheels. If you're used to being steered, a map you draw as you go can feel hostile. But it wasn't hostile. It was a pact. Put the decision in context. ABC faced ratings pressure and counter-programming anxiety, and the tone didn't fit an easy box. Dense jokes read as confusing in a landscape built to be grazed, not studied. So they pulled it fast, 4 episodes with the rest burned off later, and called the problem attention. The quick axe gave it a myth. The failure reframed the project as misunderstood, which primed it for cult status. The cancellation didn't bury it. It proved that in comedy, cleverness sometimes has to wait for the medium to catch up. Number 6, from 4 episodes to a feature-length franchise. So how do you stretch a 22-minute joke engine without losing its snap? You keep the spine. The leap from Police Squad to The Naked Gun scales the frame, not the attitude. Same deadpan, same procedural mockery, just a bigger canvas to draw the same straight line. Here's the tension. Features crave breadth. Arcs, set pieces, room for air. That space can thin out density. Jokes spread, momentum dips, the cadence drifts. If the engine is rapid setup and clean payoff, how do you protect the rhythm when the clock triples? You anchor everything to Drebin. The solution is structural. Build larger physical gags that can run longer. Extend parodies so the satire has room, but never let the lead acknowledge the absurd. He stays the steady axis while the world grows louder, broader, and stranger around him. His report writing tone keeps the film's pulse tight even as the spectacle swells. That's the trick to broadening the audience while preserving the core DNA. You still get rapid payoff cycles. You still get the straight-faced chaos. The camera just pulls back farther so the joke can ripple through a crowd, a stadium, a ceremony, while the procedural beats, clues, confrontations, case closed, hold shape. Number 7. The Dumb Detective's Smart Legacy. Why do so many smart comedies owe a debt to a detective who couldn't spot a joke if it sat on his desk? Because the legacy isn't about brains in the plot. It's about literacy in the audience. Smart legacy means 4 things working in sync. Dense jokes that stack, meta-awareness that winks through structure, visual wordplay that lives in the corners, and a show of trust. You'll catch it without a cue. For years, that speed and self-reference were treated as niche, even confusing. Then the tone became the norm. You can trace a line from this blueprint to shows that fire on multiple layers at once. The Simpsons builds sign gags and background business into a second script. 30 Rock sprints past setups without pausing to underline. Arrested Development compounds payoffs across episodes like interest. Angie Tribeca lifts the procedural shell and doubles down on straight-faced chaos. The style moved from risky to expected. Here's the pack the show normalized. We won't slow down, you'll keep up. The reward is compounding laughs. That contract flips the job of a sitcom from spoon-feeding to pattern training. You watch actively, you listen closer. The humor lands sharper because you earned it. Fold in the detective lineage. Drebin doesn't sit with Columbo or Monk as the sharpest brain. He sits as a mirror to the genre's brain. He follows the steps, treats absurdity like evidence, and that rigid posture exposes the tricks that earnest procedurals hide. The investigation becomes your job, so the paradox holds. TV's dumbest detective made viewers sharper. What once got flagged as too clever now runs the operating system for modern comedy. And that operating system still favors a straight face over a raised eyebrow, which is why the gags keep getting faster while the delivery stays calm.